Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Glory Glory Man United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn, and joining me today is Brushy, and we are going to discuss the post-season friendlies and, of course, the latest transfer news around Manchester United. Difficult to know where to start because there's so much going on, but we will start with the friendlies and Manchester United's open top bus parade in Malaysia, even though they lost against the Southeast Asian All Stars 1-0. But United today, just a couple hours ago, beat the Hong Kong national team 3-1, which is much more like it after that embarrassing defeat in Malaysia. So, Brish, I know you thought the open top bus parade was particularly embarrassing. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought it was an utter shambles. In the same week where, Liverpool was celebrating a title and having a proper parade, to see those scenes, I thought it was utterly embarrassing. First and foremost, I mean, even the fact that they're on tour now at the end of a season is madness to me. Like, surely these players need a break. I understand the need to make money and to, recoup losses and whatnot, but this can't be the way forward, can it?
Yeah, it's all about those 8 million sheets that United are out there for. I suppose it adds
Hmm.
to the transfer kitty, and it is a club that still owes a lot of money and is in so much debt. And the more money we can bring in, the better. So we
Yeah,
went
you
out.
know what it is, Carl? When I was thinking about it, yeah, I was thinking maybe, all right, with missing out on Europe and that, it kind of makes sense. You need to find alternative revenue streams. But this was already planned and in the books, wasn't it? So even had we won the Europa League, this would have been going ahead.
Yep, but this is very common for Man City, Newcastle, Tottenham. They all
I
do.
just think it's absolute nonsense. To be honest, I've not been happy with our general preseason plans over the last couple of years because we've talked about it before, where it is very much money orientated. But listen, the season just ended at the weekend. Like, surely the players deserve time off and to reset. I don't know how this is going to impact us for actual preseason.
Yeah, well, today the players will be flying home or going on holiday in Dubai, whatever they choose to do. So it only extended the season for them, another 5 days. And some teams their season isn't over. Teams that are in finals, Chelsea's season only
Hmm.
ended 2 days ago. So yeah, they just have to lump it. It's hard to feel sorry for the players. They might think this is the last thing we need. I think it was there Malaysian coach who said that they need this like a hole in the head or something like that. So he knew that this wasn't ideal for a team that had just lost the Europa League final and had a
Hmm.
disastrous season to come out to the Far East and do a pre-season tour or a post-season tour. Sorry, I'll never get used to saying that.
Yeah, never
Um,
get used to saying that. Yeah, postseason. It's elite nonsense, is what it is.
yeah, but I, yeah, I don't know why United were doing some kind of open tap bus parade.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was or part of fan engagement or something, but
Hmm.
they lost the game, so there's just no excuse for doing that. I just didn't get it.
And if you were going to organize something like that, surely there needs to be better planning because, from the angles of the footage that's gone viral that we've seen, that loads of people have seen, it looks terrible. It's a very amateurish operation, isn't it? The bus was old. There was about five people standing about. Nothing looked coordinated.
Yeah,
And like you say, on the back of the season we've had, what is there to parade about?
and they didn't even. Okay, there was 75,000 people there in Malaysia, but it wasn't a full house. I think 87,000 is the capacity,
Mhm.
and but some of that can be down to. I've heard that some of the tickets were like £400 sterling. So
Madness.
I
And
think
that's what it comes down to, isn't it? That's what it's all about.
And yeah, United were actually booed off by the Malaysian United supporters after that game. So they, they used to being booed, but you'd think that fans out there will be so happy to see United at close quarters, but not the case given the performances they have been delivering and delivered out in Malaysia. But thankfully, there's some hope has come today from the game against the Hong Kong national team. Now, typically, a United goalkeeping era led to Hong Kong taking the lead. This time it was Tom Heaton, continuing on the tradition of United goalkeepers throwing the ball in the net.
Well, well, well. I mean,
Um,
he was the final piece of the puzzle, innit? He was the one without any howlers this season. But yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense.
this is because Onana, Dalot, and Maguire flew to Mumbai to do some sponsorship things
Hmm.
over there. So, uh, and apparently, all of the squad wanted to get this gig because then they can be closer to Dubai where their families are on holiday. So, and they can avoid playing in this game in Hong Kong. So they were the three
Hmm.
players who got the gig. Um, Not the first time United did something like this. It's strange that United don't actually play a game in India. I believe they had one scheduled for the summer of 2020, but for obvious reasons that didn't go ahead. It would be nice for the Indian fans if United could play a friendly in India sometime soon, because they have to travel a long way to go to Old Trafford. So it'd be nice if United came to them, once in a while. But
Definitely. I'm sure they'll be looking into that kind of thing as well, because obviously, with the population of India, it's a market that they'll surely, want to capitalize on.
yeah, if they do, China, Hong Kong, Malaysia,
Yep.
Japan, South Korea, Australia. So there should be no reason why they wouldn't shouldn't be able. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to go to India also. So as I say, they planned to play a game there in 2020, but it was scrapped due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and they've chosen to go to America every single preseason tour now. It's 3 years in a row now. It's going to be.
Yeah.
Remember United used to go to South Africa and all in the
Hmm.
noughties, and they don't do that anymore. So it's very much all about the US now, which is
It's not as
strange.
lucrative now, is it? Isn't it? So that I think
Yeah.
that's exactly why. And we saw the state-of-the-art stadiums they've got over stateside. So yeah,
Mm.
I can't see that
But,
trend
but
changing.
what's weird about America is that United United's team bus can roll up to their team hotel in Beverly Hills, and the only people waiting to greet them is three journalists from England and a man walking his dog who's wondering what the hell's going on. Because large chunks of America do not care about soccer and are not interested, don't even know who
Yeah.
Manchester United are, which is so it makes it a weird place to go considering there's so many countries in the world have massive
It's
United.
probably why footballers like to holiday over there as well, because they get a certain level of anonymity that they don't get anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, having said that, it can be you, it depends on where in America you are because
Yeah.
in Detroit, famously, United played Real Madrid at the Big House in 2014, and it was like over 100,000 people there,
Yeah,
packed to the
record attendance,
rafters.
that record attendance, yeah.
So they're going to Atalanta this year, and one of the reasons for that is probably because Atalanta United actually have a huge fan base and thousands and thousands of season ticket holders. So that seems like a wee bit of a soccer hub. So that's why
Yeah.
United are going to.
We've got links as well in it. I think Nani played there for a season, I think. Uh
I couldn't tell you to be honest.
yeah, Atlanta. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Nani stopped by there. And I think Kaká was like one of their franchise signings at one point late on into his career.
Snapdragon, we're looking United to come play at the Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, but that United are going to be in Chicago, New Jersey, and Atlanta, which is far, far
Mm.
away from San Diego, so they're not going to take in that stadium.
Yeah.
It would have made sense for the team sponsored by Snapdragon to play at that
Hmm.
stadium, but I'm sure they will at some point, and they'll come to some kind of arrangement there. But anyway, back to the present day. United have beaten Hong Kong 3-1. Two goals from Chidi Iwobi. His first goals for Man United, albeit not in a competitive sense, and Aiden Havens going from header as well. So we've seen in the first half Rasmus Højlund miscontrolling in the penalty area and failing to get a shot away. A shot from another United player was then cleared off the line, um, and he was substituted at half time, and Obi came on. Um, and the 50th minute mark, the ball failed to him after Menu played the ball, it hit off a defender, it fell into the path of Obi, had his back to goal. He turned and he buried it into the bottom corner with his left foot, leaving the keeper with no chance. He then scored from a lovely cross from Mason Mount, and he got a glancing header into the far corner. Uh, and then Aidan Haven scored a bullet header from a mad cross from the right hand side. So him getting off the mark there as well, albeit of course only in a friendly. But we've got to finally see we the Obi that we saw for the youth team. We got to see him today in the senior team. Scoring strikers goals, which I love to see, and hopefully this is him making a statement, and the manager will be impressed by this. He'll take him on pre-season, which hopefully he'll get a couple of goals there as well, and then if he keeps progressing, then maybe he could be United's second choice striker next season behind whoever we sign. United are certain to sign a striker in this window, you'd think. And if Obi could then learn from that player, then it'll stand him in good stead. So it'd be great that if he could be United's second choice striker next season.
And that would be a huge achievement. I still think he's a way off of that, maybe third, but yeah, let's see how it goes. I
Well,
haven't actually seen today's match. I'll have to watch the highlights back later on. But the only thing I have seen is Rasmus Højlund doing Rasmus Højlund things.
mm, well, if Rasmus Højlund is still there next season, that's
Yeah.
up in the air. Then no way Obi's going to be third choice striker because
Hmm.
for me, I don't care how young and inexperienced he is, he's ahead of Holland in the packing order for me every day of the
Yeah,
week.
listen, it's come to a point now, in it, where we would rather play a false nine. So, there's certain midfielders in the team that would get in ahead of Højlund up front.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And I don't want to kick the guy while he's down, but
Hmm.
it he really is appalling at this stage. I think I was talking to a United fan yesterday about Hoyland, and we both agreed that he isn't actually as bad as what he's playing at the moment. It's just that his
Hmm.
confidence is absolutely shattered, and he
Yeah, yeah, this is the same thing we've been discussing over the last couple of weeks. I just think he's completely devoid of any kind of confidence, and he needs a change of scenery and a change of league.
yeah, I wouldn't surprise. He's got a reputation in Serie A, so it wouldn't surprise me if one of
Hmm.
those teams came in for him
Yeah,
during this window. And I think he needs that badly, and United would probably be happy to offload him.
definitely.
It is a sign that it's just not worked out at all. Um,
Yeah.
like the fact that the ball's coming to him in the penalty area, he's about 8 yards out and he
Hmm.
miscontrols, and you're like, oh
And
no,
obviously, obviously we have to factor in like jet lag and all of that. But when you look at the quality of opposition that we played in these friendlies this week, you would expect him to get on the score sheet, right? There's no excuse really for a player of his caliber and reputation to not score against these guys.
yes, definitely. And since we last spoke, United actually won a Premier League game against Champions League, chasing Aston Villa, which was
Typical, isn't it? Typical. When there's not much on the line, they pull out a result. Uh,
so. Ahmad scored from a beautiful cross from Bruno. Another header
mhm.
from Ahmad, the smallest man on most
Yeah,
pitches,
yeah. It was
and
a
yet he's
lovely ball in from Bruno. That was, yeah, highlight for me.
and Ericsson was given the penalty by Bruno on his final
A
appearance.
very nice touch, that. Classy.
Now, why didn't he
Um,
give it to Johnny Evans?
I think Johnny turned it down. I think yeah. I
Yeah.
think he offered it to both.
And Evans, of course, missed in the Community Shield shootout. Maybe that's why he didn't want to
Hmm.
take one. Um, and obviously, the moment of the match was dominated the headlines was an Bayindir and Morgan Rogers.
Yeah.
Bayindir appeared not to have the ball under control. Rogers got a toe in
Hmm.
and he rode the ball into the net, but VAR could not intervene because the referee, an inexperienced referee, by the way, he should not have been doing this game, uh, blew the whistle prematurely, meaning that play had been stopped, so no way could VAR deem that Rogers'
Hmm.
goal was to count because the play had been stopped. So there's nothing they could do there. Um, to, Villa complained to the PGMOL in the Premier League that why was one of the most inexperienced referees taking charge of one of the most important games. And I thought it was quite strange as well because surely the games was something riding on them, they put in the experienced referees, and then because there was plenty of dead rubbers for inexperienced referees to take charge of, but of course
Definitely.
they got it wrong. Um,
Hmm.
so that was with 17 minutes to go at 0-0, and that would have given the 10 men of Aston Villa something to hold on to for 17 minutes. And we know United notoriously struggled to break teams down, But I think Villa need to look at themselves though as well. Um, for a team who needed to win to get into the Champions League, they were abysmal. They're absolutely shocking in that game.
Weren't
Uni-
helped at all by their goalkeeper,
and
who
yeah, yeah,
absolutely lost the plot.
and United played really well, which once the pressure's off, typically. And yeah, Martinez comes flying out of his box and takes out Rasmus Højlund, and it's Rasmus
Y-
Højlund. You know,
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
not.
that's the part I didn't get, Carl. The fact that he's done that and it's bloody Rasmus. If you just left him to it, he probably wouldn't have bothered you at all.
Yeah, it's not as if it was Ronaldo, and
Uh-huh.
it's a certain goal. If he's, if it's an empty net from an empty net from an angle with two Villa players running back, I
hmm
think Højlund probably fumbles it. To be honest, if
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah. Honestly, honestly, I can understand it. And the way he took him out as well, like bloody hell, like, is there been anything more clear cut? It's something you'd expect to see in the NFL.
yeah, it was so cynical, and
Yeah, yeah.
the only surprising element to it was that it was the first red card of his career.
That is incredible. That the kind of personality he is, that does shock me.
Yeah, so there we go. United winning the final league game, beating Hong Kong. So we're flying now, absolutely flying, going into the new season. Um, Now this squad is probably going to have major surgery done to it over the course of the summer. Me and Bruce and other guests will be here over the course of the summer talking about each transfer in and out and preseason friendlies and so on. And the news just keeps on coming. So I want to start with Bruno, who has been heavily linked with a move to the Saudi Pro League, El Halal, I think the team is called, and they are potentially offering upwards of £100 million for him now, and offering to pay him was it astronomical wages that it'd be very hard for any human being to turn down. Uh, Now he turns 31 in September. Uh, if he was to run his contract down until 2027, that means he would go for free, and United would make nothing, from him. They would just get his wages off the books.
Mhm.
At the moment, United could accept a £100 million offer. In fact, what we've been hearing from certain journalists is that the Saudi club will pay whatever it takes for to get
Yeah,
Bruno Fernandes.
there's been comment from Fabrizio Romano today, which adds weight to those claims that apparently they're willing to pay whatever. So if it's a
And
blank checkbook type situation, then this is an opportunity that's not gonna come around too often.
yeah, the club needs to get whatever they can get for him.
Absolutely. I would like somewhere in the ballpark figure of somewhere between 120 to 150 million.
Yeah, yeah, because we need all the
Anything in, to be honest, anything in excess of 100, you have to take it.
yeah, we need all the money we can get.
Yeah.
And as I've said, we're in the middle of a rebuild. If we can get like 100 million plus
hmm
for a player in his 30s, we have to take that. I know
We
he is.
absolutely do.
I know this is going to be difficult for some fans, emotionally, and of course that how crucial he is to the team. But
hmm
here's the way I look at it. Yes, he Bruno Fernandes is our most important player, perhaps our only world-class player, but we need to stop relying on one player. We need to build a team that we can rely on. And in order to be able to do that, we're going to have to sell heavily and make a lot of money in order to bring in the players that we need. And, you know, in terms of the two number 10s, like Matthias Cunha is coming in for sure. There's no real doubt about that. That's 99% certain. Mason Mount, we've seen him play well recently. He's another option number 10, and Ahmad can play in that position as well. And we could use the Bruno money to potentially bring in a world class striker, an Oshiman or a Gyökeres, if one of those players wants to come to United. So those players could fill the holes in terms of assists and goals. So we might not miss him as much as we think, but then again, we might. It could be a massive hole for us. And every time we draw a blank next season or there's no creativity, we'll say, "Oh, we're missing Bruno badly here." So it is a gamble, but when you're offered that kind of money, you have to take it, especially when you're in the middle of a rebuild and you're a bit strapped for cash.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. Um, so obviously a player like Bruno, it's a privilege to have him. When you look at the numbers as well in this, abysmal season in this horrible team, like, he has been carrying us, but you can't replace somebody like him like for like. So when somebody like him goes, if you can get enough money, in which in this case you can, the key would be to reinvest it in two or three players who come in and just make us stronger as a whole and as a team. You don't want to rely on just one guy to just, for that moment of magic to make a difference. It's not sustainable. So yeah, I fully understand the reasoning, and we should cash in. It might hurt in the short term, but like you say, listen, if in 2 years' time he runs his contract down and leaves for free, that helps nobody. And he's 31 in September. These are things you have to take into consideration. I remember when Aubameyang's contract was running out and he signed a new deal when he was at Arsenal, when he was getting on, um, and his form went out the window as well. And things change very quickly in football. So you have to look at these things.
Yeah, if we sold Bruno for mega money, over 100 million, and in this window we bring in a number 10, we bring in a top class striker, and we bring in a
Yeah.
central midfielder, then we've
hmm
done exactly what you've just said, and we've replaced him with three
hmm
players.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing. Because yeah, if that's the difference between us getting a top quality striker this summer and not, then already it's a no brainer. And then at some point you have to move on from Bruno anyway because of his age.
And when Tottenham sold Gareth Bale, they ended up they used the money to buy several players, and that
hmm
team should have should have won the league and nearly won the Champions League. So they invested that money wisely, I think. And
Initially, I think it was quite poor because I remember they signed Roberto Soldado, who couldn't score to save his life. Eric Lamela was probably the best of the bunch that came in. But yeah, once they got Pochettino in, like 2, 3 years into it, it did all kind of settle down, and yeah, they got you know a bit more wise in the market as well. But yeah, it's important as well that we don't waste the money if it were to come in. Um, I hate to use these lot as an example, but Liverpool, last season they wanted Zubamendi, didn't get him. People laughed at them. They didn't panic. They didn't go out and get somebody just for the sake of appeasing the fans. They've taken their time, and now it looks like they're making big, big moves because they seem to be at the forefront for Florian Wirtz. So, planning is something that you can't underestimate, and it's the kind of thing that we need to
did,
start doing.
did Tottenham bring in Ericsson and Dele Alli after Bale left, I think, as well? So
They came as well, yeah, but I think that was a couple years after. But yeah, in the immediate aftermath in Bale's when he left, I remember Eric Lamela and Soldado coming in.
yeah, Son Heung-min, I think he may have came
Son
in.
came 2015. Yeah, I think that
Yeah,
was Pochettino's first season. What a signing he was.
yeah. So eventually they invested the money
Eventually they
wisely,
got it right. Yeah,
and
and
they
Dele Alli as well. I think at that time he came from MK Dons or one of the lower division clubs in it. So
that's it. Yeah,
yeah, and he had two or three unbelievable seasons before his career curtained.
yeah. I want to use Liverpool as an example as well. And
hmm
Coutinho, people thought that was
Yeah,
madness, selling their
he was a
best player.
luxury player, wasn't he,
Mm.
Cal? He wasn't a necessity.
And they used the money to buy Alisson and Van Dijk, and that
Yep, yep,
transformed them.
absolutely. Because they already had the ingredients. They were working towards something, and they were calculated in what they did. Because obviously that money offset those two transfers, and they were record transfers at the time as well. So sometimes you have to make a calculated risk on that, and it paid off. Yeah, in abundance.
So if we sell Bruno, Garnacho, we'll get to that in a
Mhm.
second, Rashford, Sancho, and Anthony, and invest the money wisely, we could have a good team next season if we invest the money
Absolutely.
wisely. If we invest
Absolutely.
wisely.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like you say, when you do all of that, we can afford to splurge on one or two that are already made right now, you know?
Yeah.
So I know we're looking at cost cutting and all these things, and that is important. Um, but you can afford to give one or two of these established players competitive wages, but still also reduce the overall wage bill, if that makes sense, provided we do good business.
Yeah, I think Ineos did brief that if the right player becomes available,
Yeah.
then they will be prepared to pay big wages
Hmm.
and a large transfer fee. Uh, yes, I just want to come on to the news that broke last weekend is that Amarim supposedly told Garnacho during a team meeting that he doesn't want him at the club anymore and he should go find a new club. Uh, s- that off the back of the interview that he did after the Europa League final, and we know he's had several transgressions, Garnacho, and his brother is a real nuisance online, and he does have a massive ego, and every time he's dropped or he's only a substitute, then he seemed to complain on social media, or in this case, complain to the media. And maybe the manager thinks that he's not a perfect fit for my system, and he's not really worth the aggro. So I'm going to move him on, and it'll be pure profit on the PSR calculator. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, to be honest, we kind of saw this coming anyway, didn't we? Because there was rumors and links in January, and it didn't transpire. But yeah, he obviously clearly doesn't fit the system exactly how Amarim wants. In terms of his off-field antics, he's the best way I can describe Garnacho. Yeah, he's got the attitude of a CR7, but he's closer in ability to Adnan Januzaj. So, I think he's a young man who thinks greatly of himself. I can totally understand the frustration after the Europa League final. I think they interviewed him like an hour later, right? And what he said, I wasn't too offended by it. I just think we live in a time now where, you can't say anything in the media. It just starts trending and people cut quotes in half and run with their own narratives. So you have to be very careful. And as for the younger brothers and family members, yeah, we've got no control over that. All the stuff Harry Maguire went through, his family members were on there as well, defending him and saying all sorts over the years. I try to ignore all of that, to be honest. Um, but yeah, if it's for the betterment of the team, then it has to. We have to go with that. I'm not. Yeah, I think we've spoken about it before. Um, Typically, I'm not a fan of letting go of homegrown talents. Um, but occasionally, if the ends justify the means, then yeah, we can't let sentiment stand in the way.
Yeah, I agree. It's unfortunate because after he scored in the FA Cup final, we were thinking, and Manu scored as well, we're thinking these guys are going to be the
Hmm.
future of the club. And 1 year later, and Garnacho's heading away to somewhere else.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, you're right. He doesn't. I don't think he quite has the ceiling of CR7, but
No.
uh, he definitely has the potential to get even better than he is at the moment.
Hmm.
And but yeah, there's just I don't know the exact reason why the manager has made this call, but I can have a guess that it's a bit of a circus that comes with Garnacho, bit of baggage. I know he's even disciplined under Ten Hag for being late to a team meeting.
Hmm.
Um, you know, liking tweets, criticizing the manager and stuff like that. That's not good. Now the interview itself, as we said in the last podcast, that neither of us were that offended by, but maybe
Hmm.
that's just five strikes and you're out. It was maybe the manager just manager might have taken exception to it, or maybe it was just a tallying up process and thought, you know what, if I'm going to be rebuilding this squad, I could probably do without the Garnacho circus in terms of the quotes he gives to the media and the stuff he does on social media and what his family does on social media. I just,
Definitely. And this is the thing as well. We've seen it with disciplinarian coaches in the past. Um, you need the right characters on and off the pitch in the dressing room. There's so much more to it than just having talent.
yeah, it's 50% mental, as
Yeah.
everyone will tell you when it comes to
Hmm.
high level sport. It's all about the mental side of the game is just as important as the physical side of the game and your ability.
Definitely.
Um,
Definitely. Sometimes it's professionalism. Sorry, couldn't
and
get my words out there. That will see you through,
and I
irrespective of talent. Ravel Morrison comes to mind.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
used to wax lyrical about him, and then he could never get a consistent run anywhere throughout his career.
I tell you, someone who comes to mind in a positive sense is Ahmad. He gets goals because he wants to get there first.
Hmm.
He chases the goalkeeper down. He will want to get ahead of the left back at the back post. This is why like a man of his height should not be scoring headers, but it's his determination and his obviously his ability. But like that goal he got against Tottenham in the League Cup, where Fraser Forster attempts a kick out and he blocks the kick out by chasing him down.
Just
That's pure
pure
determination.
determination.
Yeah, yeah.
Something out of nothing, that.
And we see him get goals and assists simply by pressing defenders because he's got the hunger, he's got the desire, and we yeah, I'd be happy if we had more Ahmads in our team. I think
Hmm.
yeah, Ahmad himself had said that he wants Garna to stay when he was asked the question. I think the journalists are being naughty there, asking the player about whether he wants the player to stay or go. They're fishing, looking for
Hmm.
him to say something that they could use for a story, but they didn't get nothing. And the manager actually started laughing when Ahmad was asked about Garnacho's future. That which a few people found very strange, but he may have been looking at his phone, or maybe he just thought it was ridiculous that another player is being asked about this. But yeah, what did you make of Amram laughing after Ahmad was asked about
I just think it was
Garnacho's
a very
future?
honest reaction. I think he chuckled because he knew exactly what they were trying to get at. Um, you know, it's one of those.
Yeah,
Uh,
I didn't think it was a big deal.
yeah, I didn't think it was a big deal either, to be honest. It's just one of those, and you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. Um,
And you know, we are probably going to be directly replacing Garnacho with Kuna, who is a perfect fit for this system, and more so than Garnacho, who's more of a winger and obviously doesn't have the defensive discipline to play left wing back. And Kuna, he has played as a left-sided 10 in this very formation, and
mhm,
so he's going to be a perfect fit. Now, just on Kuna, what I read from Ben Jacobs is that he's waiting on a visa so that he can do his medical at Carrington. And I don't understand immigration laws at all. I probably never will. But
mhm.
I thought that was a bit bizarre that he's already working in
He's
England.
he's
Why does he
already
need
in
it?
the country. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it, when you're already in the country?
I know he's going to be changing employers, and maybe that means he
Hmm.
needs a new visa. And these things can take time, but that's apparently what the holdup is. That United have already triggered his release clause,
Hmm.
and the player has wanted to come to United for 6 months, so it's not going to be an issue. We're just a matter of waiting a few
Yeah,
days.
I'll tell you what. I thought it was quite brave of him. I heard he requested the number 10 shirt. Now that that comes with added responsibilities.
Absolutely, and it'll be a statement to Marcus Rashford that your time is
Hmm.
up, son. You're not coming back.
Oh, definitely. And on Cunha's part, I mean, I think it shows a certain level of ambition that he's coming in not just to make up the numbers. But it's go hard or go home, man. You either earn that shirt on your back or you don't. You crumble under the pressure, and we'll find out what happens. But pressure makes diamonds.
Yes, it does, and he's another super confident guy. And I thought I seen some comparisons, and I thought this is way too premature. Now, everybody, well, people who are older than us will remember when Ara Cantona came in November '92, and that was the catalyst for all the
Hmm.
success. And people are saying that Kuna could have a Cantona type impact
Jesus.
on United. I was like, whoa, whoa, that's calm the jets here.
Listen. We've been pushed and shoved and kicked and demoralized so much. I'm just hoping for a positive goal difference next year.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that United last season, right? They finished eighth with a negative goal
Yeah.
difference. The only attacking signing they made was Joshua Zirkzee, who had a
Hmm.
mediocre goal record for Bologna. And guess what? We finished 15th with an even worse goals,
Minus
goal
10, I
difference.
think it was
Yeah.
in the end. Yeah. Minus 10. And then I'll tell you what, I was looking at the league this year compared to last, and Crystal Palace, right? Crystal Palace, the season before, finished in 10th place on 49 points. This year, I think they had 53 or 54, and they finished 12th.
Mm. Yeah,
So, the level of competition is crazy.
it is.
But the one thing that did give me a little bit of optimism, because we're clutching at straws, I was looking at Nottingham Forest this season gone to the one before. Um, And the season before, they finished 17th on 32 points. And then this season, they, jumped up to seventh place and finished on 65 points. And, they weren't in Europe. They haven't got the finances that we have. They can't attract the players that we have. So, in theory, if a club like that can do that with just proper planning and good scouting and reasonable business, there's no reason why we can't do something similar.
Yeah, it, given where we finished in 15th, if we
Mm.
were then to jump up to the Europa Conference League spot, that would be incremental progress, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would honestly a top 10 finish next season. If you can even get into the top 10 and with a positive goal difference, that would be something. Obviously, in the long run, for a club of our stature, it's still ridiculously low. But you have to build on something,
But
and we need to set
th-
realistic aims going forward.
there's something attractive as well to United completing the European trophy set,
Yeah,
which Chelsea have done. I know
hmm
yeah, a club of United stature should be in the Champions League, but
absolutely.
if we were to win the Europa Conference League, that
Yeah,
would complete the set, which would
it
be
would.
it'd be
It
nice.
would.
Um, what's great?
For me, Carl, like I'm not one of these that turns their nose up at any trophy, especially European trophy. I know there's tiers to it and it's not the most glamorous, but you always want to achieve and strive for trophies. That's what the game's all about, right? So you always need to be in these competitions and we should always
Yeah,
be aiming to win.
yeah. Chelsea finished fourth and won a trophy. They weren't
Yep.
complaining about what trophy it was. They were
hmm
happy that they got one. West Ham have won it, and it meant the world to them. Uh,
Yeah.
so what was great about Chelsea winning that is that Jadon Sancho scored, and it sounds at the minute as if Chelsea plan to buy him, and
Yeah.
maybe that goal sealed the deal. But the only thing to negotiate is his wages, and Chelsea
His wages.
and Fabrizio has already said that Chelsea will not be paying him the wages
Yeah.
that he's getting at Man United, so
Yeah.
there will
Yeah.
have to be a compromise. Now,
Yeah.
now I've come across this type of compromise before, and it's that basically he can like he's only got 1 year left on his United
hmm
contract, so we have to bear that in mind as well.
There's an
But
option as well,
so
but I think it's with the club in it, and there's no way we're
yeah,
going to exercise that
no,
option.
no.
So just 12 months left.
But if he's given a 5 year contract or 6 year
Yeah.
contract by Chelsea at a slightly lower wage,
hmm
then that kind of offsets, the fact
Yeah.
that he's taking a lower wage. So there's ways
hmm
around that. I remember when Alexis Sanchez, what a player he was for United, when he went to Inter Milan, he took a lower wage, but he got a longer
Yeah.
contract, and that was able
Yeah.
to offset the damage. So hopefully they can
And
come
also,
to.
we were also subsidizing part of the wages, weren't we? So
Yeah, I think
that
he got
kind of
a
kept
bit
him
of
topped
a
up.
bit of a payoff. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah. So the wages and stumbling block, it would be a miracle if we could get rid of him. So that would be fantastic. It would save us. There would be one less headache because there's already so much to do this summer.
yeah,
One other thing that we need to touch on as well is our former manager has got himself a new job.
we will get there. Yeah, we're just about to get there. I just want to say one last thing on the Europa Conference League final was
Mhm.
that Anthony, just like Casemiro, once he plays against English opposition, he's no good.
It's just yeah, English opposition. Yeah, it's not the same, is it? But he's loving life over there though,
But
and they love him as well. Only thing is, I don't
well,
think Betis have the finances to
yeah,
keep him.
they don't. That's the thing. They
Yeah,
can love him as much as they want,
yeah, yeah,
but if they don't have the money, they can forget about signing him.
yeah.
I
That's the thing. But he's made such a good impact and impression on that league that I think some of the big boys will come for him. I think Atletico Madrid would be the ideal
I
location.
hope so because outside
Yeah.
of Real and Barca, maybe not even
Oh, they
Barca,
probably don't need him,
uh,
or Barca don't need him because
yeah,
they've got a
out,
generational guy on the
yeah,
wing.
outside of the big two, the
Yeah,
only club with big money to spend in La
is
Liga
Atletico.
is Atletico. Yeah,
Yeah,
so we'd need
yeah, and
him.
it makes
To,
sense as
to,
well because Simeone likes to play a 4-4-2, and it's that restricted, rigid kind of system where Anthony can get away with doing just one thing as well.
yeah, he has a reputation now in La Liga, so hopefully there will
Mm,
be interest there. Real
definitely.
Betis want to loan him again, and I'm not interested in that.
No,
Absolutely
no, we
not
can't be.
interested in
Yeah,
that.
we can't be loaning people out, especially
Look,
because then it runs down their contract as well, and it devalues them over time. It doesn't make
I know
sense.
we're not a friggin' money lender.
Yeah.
We're not a building society giving out mortgages.
Hmm.
We we have an asset which we want to sell. You don't get to borrow him for a year
Yeah,
and we pay his wages.
absolutely.
Sorry. Um,
Well,
if you don't,
sometimes it might be necessary to just to put them on the shop window to just show people that, they still have their uses. And this one's worked out just
but
magnificently.
we've already done that. We're not going to
Yeah,
loan
yeah.
him
He's
again.
he's done it now. That's what I mean. But there's no need to loan him out again. Now it has to be permanent.
But as you've just touched on, there could be interest in
Hmm.
Germany for
Hmm.
Anthony, for obvious reasons, because Ten Hag has got the Bayer Leverkusen job after Alonso
Yep.
departed to Real Madrid, and the word coming out from the sports media over in Germany is that internally Bayer Leverkusen are discussing not only Anthony but Garnacho as well, who of course has a great relationship with Ten Hag.
Yep.
Um, and they will have, as you've again mentioned, they will have lots of money to spend because they've sold Jeremy Frimpong and they're going to sell Florian
Florian Wirtz.
Wirtz to
Yeah.
Liverpool for upwards of £100 million.
Yep.
So Ten Hag, he's already brought in a Dutch keeper, of course, from
Unfortunately,
Brentford.
I was hoping he'd come in for another.
Yeah, there's, there's only so many things can go our way in one summer. I mean, we're
Hmm.
asking a bit
Hmm.
much for Ten Hag to take on Nana with him. That just was too good to be true for
Yeah,
that
it
to
would have been
happen.
ideal. But honestly, if he takes any of his former players, I'll be
Mhm.
happy. I'll be chuffed.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, so if Leverkusen want to use their money from Liverpool on buying our cast-offs, please come again.
Hmm.
You know, I'll be delighted for us to take the Florian Wirtz money from Liverpool. You know, I can't see them buying both Garnacho and Anthony, but even if they bought one
Yeah.
of them, that would
Even
be
if they
great.
bought one, that would be huge. That would be huge.
Garnacho, people have said to me online that Garnacho would not be interested in going to Bayer Leverkusen, but
Mm.
the only other options he's probably going to have is the likes of Napoli, and I know Napoli are the champions of
Hmm.
Italy. Um, McTominay being the star of the show there with Lukaku, but there's not a great difference in stature between Bayer Leverkusen and Napoli. So, like, it's not as if Real Madrid and Barcelona are going to come calling for Garnacho. So he's not going to have that many options. Although he may have options in the Premier League, and United
Mm.
probably won't be too fussy about who they sell to if they're getting big money for him.
Yeah,
So
if it's in the Premier League, I'd like to see the fee be slightly higher, if I'm honest. But
yeah, that because that's exactly how we'd be treated.
yeah.
For example, Harry
Hmm.
Kane went to Bayern Munich. If if he went to United instead, it would have been 20 million more at least.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely, definitely. So yeah, if it's the only one in the Premier League I can really see being interested in Garnacho is probably Chelsea, just because they
but
spend money like it's going out of fashion.
so I know Ten Hag won two trophies at United, but he signed so many bad players that he owes us, and he needs to take some of them with him to Bayer Leverkusen. And yeah, I'm not surprised. And him and Anthony, yeah, like that would be like Harry Redknapp and Nico Kranjčar if Anthony goes to Bayer Leverkusen. You know, never.
Oh, Harry loved his regulars, didn't he? Peter Crouch, Jermaine Defoe.
Defoe,
I
yeah,
think he
they all
signed
ended up.
Defoe a couple of times.
Yeah, that would be the third time that Ten Hag has signed
Yeah,
Anthony if he goes to Bayer Leverkusen. And we're not asking for, crazy money here. I think
yeah,
35 million pounds would be enough.
yeah. 35 to 40, I think is reasonable in today's market and with the spell he's recently had as well. Because before that, it was, I was thinking probably 25, but he's done his reputation no harms over in Spain.
So Rashford's already confirmed that he won't be. He's already said
Yep.
goodbye to Aston Villa. So
Hmm.
they haven't made it into the Champions League. He doesn't seem keen on staying there, and wasn't from the start. The noises coming out from like Barcelona concern me is that they want a loan with an option to buy next summer.
Yeah.
Again, that
And
doesn't
and
interest
they're a
me.
club financially, they're in a lot of trouble. And I think reports came out that he's one of four options they're looking at. So that's not the ideal situation for us. I would prefer he went elsewhere. But to be honest, I don't really care where he goes. It's up to him. But I just think that one is a bit convoluted and it could drag on all summer. I'd rather just get a concrete offer from somewhere and we settle that sharpish, you know?
That is going to drag on. I think you're right.
That's it's gonna really drag that. It's not gonna help.
I just want to get the 40 million and get it done.
Hmm.
You know, that was the not the obligation, but the option for Villa
The option,
was
yeah,
to
yeah,
sign him. So
yeah,
United have basically set their price for
yeah.
any club, and if 40 million offer was to come in, then that would be accepted. But
Hmm.
as you say, Barcelona would have to pull about two or three levers to raise 40
Yeah, and
million.
again, it doesn't even make sense because for me, he doesn't break into their first team unless they want to. Because Lewandowski's not really showing signs of slowing down. His goal scoring record at his age is phenomenal. And then
Yes.
the boys on the wings are that amazing. Rafinha's had the season of his life, and the other one is a generational talent.
Yeah, he would be guaranteed to start at Barcelona. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, with the Anthony and Garnacho situations, you want a club with money to come in for him.
Hmm. Hmm.
So let's see what happens. Again, there could
Yeah.
be a Premier League offer. Tottenham could come in for him. They've got plenty of
Yeah,
money now.
I could definitely see Tottenham being in the mix. I'm actually surprised as well that we've not heard any rumours yet about Arsenal. I think both Arsenal and Tottenham will at some point in the window be linked to Rashford.
Arsenal love a United cast off. Uh,
Yeah. And then when you actually look at their squad as well, they need experience, and then the fact that he can cover left wing and up front, and they don't have a striker, and
but
that's cost them.
they are in talks to sign Benjamin Sesko, though,
Yeah,
um,
they are,
which
but
they badly need.
I don't know if I believe some of the quotes I've been hearing this week, but if it's to be believed, it's utterly ridiculous.
Uh, as-
Apparently, they're saying Leipzig want north of 90 million, which is just it's
no,
nonsense.
that is nonsense.
It can't be that. It can't surely.
They are
If it is that, surely there's other options for Arsenal anyway that are more experienced and ready made. Because Sheshko is very much a project striker, and they're
yeah
not in a phase where they can afford a project.
yeah they're chancing their arm there like
Hmm.
Red Bull, Leipzig.
Yeah.
Uh, so Arsenal at the moment seem to be focused on Sesko. They're having initial
Mm.
discussions. Chelsea have signed Liam Delap. Oh, I'm
Yep.
so disappointed by that, by the way. Absolutely devastated. Like anyone who listens to this podcast will know that neither me or you were keen on Liam Delap. Um,
Yeah, it was quite underwhelming, wasn't it? To be fair to the kid, like for 30 million in today's market, I think it's a decent bit of business. But even if he were to come in, we only saw him as a rotational option at best. So yeah, I won't be shedding tears over that one.
and after our experience with Rasmus Højlund, to
Mm,
me, he another striker, albeit in the Premier League, another striker with a mediocre goal record was a massive gamble for Manchester United.
yeah,
We need guaranteed goals. Um,
yeah, that's the thing.
you
That's
know,
the thing.
with our appalling, goal difference in the last two seasons, we need to address that. I think it's absolutely right that United are going to focus the budget on the attack this summer,
Mhm.
and that's the right thing to do because I think we've got quite a few centre halves, and a lot of them
We could
that are,
probably do with one more, to be fair. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they'll probably ride it out for a year.
yeah, because you've got Heaven, Delict, Martinez when he comes back. You've got Lenny Yaro, you've got Maguire, and obviously Mazrahi and Shaw can cover in those positions. So
Yeah.
that's not urgent. What we need to address is the lack of goals. That is urgent, and
Mhm.
goalkeeper as well is urgent, in my
Yeah, the
opinion.
goalkeeper's urgent as
Mhm.
well, really. Like if there's two signings you could make, it would be a striker and a goalkeeper.
Absolutely. If we're only
Yeah.
allowed to make two signings
Yeah,
in a
that would be
transfer
the
window,
two.
that would
Yeah,
be it.
yeah. And I'm someone who looks at the wing backs as well because under this system we do need better wing backs, but that can all wait. A goalkeeper and a striker. Like, listen, this season that those two changes would have shot us up the league. Not by that much, but we would have picked up more points.
Yeah, those are the two most crucial positions in the pitch,
Hmm.
in my opinion. The striker and a goalkeeper, because one his job is to keep goals out, and the other one is to get you the goals. So,
And to get you the
you know,
goals, yeah, it's the two key positions, isn't it? Really.
uh,
And yeah, like we discussed earlier, if this Saudi Bruno Fernandes thing happens, then surely we have to go for one of the big boy strikers. You'd think the obvious one would be Gyökeres because of his relationship with Amorim. But I understand time is of the essence for him, and if he insists on Europe and stuff, it can be a bit
But
complicated. But that would then be up to Amorim and the team to convince him that this is that we're going to focus on climbing up the league, and just to sacrifice 1 year basically to get us back to where we need to be.
yeah, if we sell Bruno, we have to
Yeah,
sign Gyökeres or Osimhen,
yeah, basically.
and that would represent a good business by United.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, as I was saying, so Liam Delap is going to Chelsea. Arsenal are, at the moment are focused on Shesko. That would it kind of narrows the options then for Gyökeres. I mean,
Yeah, basically, yeah, and the two big victors are still up for grabs. So yeah,
yeah, and Victor Osimhen got 36 goals in 40 appearances for
yeah.
Galatasaray.
What worries me though, Kyle, is that with Chelsea, if they make a few sales, like Liam Delap is not going to stop them from going out and getting somebody else. You know,
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, they probably won't be satisfied with the lap on Nicholas
yeah, they
Jackson.
won't be satisfied with just that alone. So
Nicholas
yeah,
Jackson is not for me. I know
hmm
I would say a lot of Chelsea fans feel the same. That
yeah,
that that hat trick he got against nine-man Tottenham was a
he's
bit of a was an
yeah.
anomaly.
He's a very frustrating player because he gets into really good positions at times, and you think, oh, your goal scoring record should be a lot better than it is because of the things you do. But yeah, he's very
Mhm.
frustrating.
Yeah, so I hopefully United will be able to convince one of the strikers we've mentioned to come to Old
Hmm.
Trafford despite the lack of European football. But I agree with Amram in the way when he was asked this question weeks ago, he said that he doesn't want players coming to the club based on what competition we're in. He wants players to
Yeah.
come because they want to play for Man United, and Puna fits into that bracket. I think
Hmm.
he already said whether United were in Europe or not, he was going to come. There was his dream to play for Man
Definitely.
United, and that's that. We
Yeah.
we need to find more players like that. Um,
No, absolutely. And then obviously it's up to you as well to sell them on your idea and vision and project and all of that. So if there is a certain competition they want to play in, you have to convince them that that will come with time.
there was a link yesterday or the day before that Napoli would be willing to do a part exchange deal between
Mm-hmm.
Osimhen and Hoyland. United would give them Hoyland and 33 million, and we would take
I'll
Osimhen.
take that all day long.
Yeah, yeah. Please, where can I
Yes,
sign?
please. Yeah. That would be really good business. That yeah, I'll take that. I'll
Again,
take that
that
all
sounds
day
too
long.
good to be true.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. But the thing is though, because obviously they've already got Lukaku, and I hear they're interested in free agent Jonathan David. So they're in a position where, they've fallen out of Osimhen and they really need to sell. So I don't think they're gonna want a ridiculous fee. I think it'll be somewhat reasonable. So I know in the past people have quoted his release clause, but I think he's up for grabs for a lot less than that.
And he, yes, he's never played in the Premier League,
Yeah.
but he's now done it in France, Italy, and Turkey.
Hmm.
Um, if there's no certainty in football, but if you're going to sign a striker who's never played in the Premier League and
Hmm.
you're looking for a certainty in terms of goals, Osimhen would be that man, in my opinion. He-
Definitely, and also he's a saleable asset, isn't he? Like if you bring him in, and at that price as well, if you can get him for like 30 and a part exchange, and if it doesn't work out, he will always have offers from the likes of Saudi and whatnot. It's okay to cut your losses. It's okay to move on, but to not try and get these players in, I think that's the real mistake.
yeah, and Gyökeres has a phenomenal goal record
Yeah.
in Portugal. Now, I know it's only the Portuguese league, but he's built on his
Hmm.
incredible goal record from last season. He said he'd give them one more year,
Yeah.
and then they have to allow him to leave this summer. And he's got
No,
even
absolutely, Carl. And then listen, I've still got one or two question marks, but you can't question his record. Like the stats are absolutely ridiculous, aren't they?
so.
Um, and surely it's worth a punt.
Yeah, if a guy's scoring 50 odd goals
Yeah.
for a Portuguese team,
Hmm.
and he did really well for Coventry in the championship, so he's not a complete stranger to English football.
Yeah.
Surely that guy could get 20 goals in
And
the Premier League.
physically as well, he's built like a tank. He's
Oh
played
yeah,
for the manager before, so if anybody understands his system, surely it's the main man that was leading the way in your last team. So it ticks a lot of boxes for me, that one.
yeah. I've seen images of him taking off his shirt when he scores, and he goes against
He's
here, and he is built like an absolute
he's
mountain.
massive, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, because I know that's one of the concerns in the Premier League because we are quite a physical league compared to other parts of Europe. So, but I think he can definitely handle himself.
yeah. So a guy who can get 56 goals or whatever it is, that
Yeah.
this is
Oh, and a
insane.
whole bunch of assists as well. He got
Yeah,
like 16 or 17 assists. It was just insane.
yeah. We're talking about so in terms of goals and assists,
Yeah.
he's in it's like 73 or something.
Yeah, it's insane. So even if we like take the tax of it being an easier league, quote unquote, or whatever,
So
even if we half those numbers, it would
yeah,
still be absolutely
yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah. That's what I'm going to say. A guy
Yeah,
who can get 50 odd goals in Portugal, a guy
yeah,
who can get 20 odd goals in the championship,
yeah.
previous to that, when he wasn't
Hmm.
as good as he is now, surely he can come to the Premier League and score 20 Premier League goals in a
Yeah,
season.
yeah. And I'll take that all day. Like just
Yeah.
having someone in your team that can get you 20 league goals makes such a difference. And then this is a guy who, if you go by the numbers and whatnot, he can get assists as well.
And you tell you what, United have bought well from Sporting Lisbon in the past.
Mm.
They so we got Ronaldo from there, we got Nani from there, we got Bruno Fernandes from there.
We
Uh,
won't talk about Rojo.
Marcus Rojo, Marcus Rojo on his burnt toast.
Ay,
Um,
ay, ay.
so he's kind of the exception to that rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although people loved his approach to the game,
His passion. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He was a likable guy. It's just it's a shame that the talent didn't match.
I can't believe he never got a red card at Old Trafford. Some of the
Yeah,
tackles were
it's insane,
horrendous.
isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't think we ever played him in the right position either. Because when I saw him for Argentina, when he actually impressed, he was playing as a left wing back, but we never really used him like that.
No, do you know what? I think enough due diligence wasn't done there. I think what
No,
happened there was Van Gaal seen him in a couple of games in the World Cup and thought
yeah,
he's a bit good, he'll do.
hmm,
That's how we signed players under Ed Woodward anyway.
yeah,
There's no due diligence or homework done on any player. It was all Ed Woodward has heard of Rafael Varane. Yeah, let's get
hmm,
him. I like him. Let's pay whatever we have. Falcao, Di Maria, Schweinsteiger. Yeah, we'll have him. They're big names. They'll they'll sell shirts. There was no homework done on any of these players. There's no way that United were scouting Marcus Rojo for 3 years and then signed him. That was purely based on Van Gaal seeing him at the World Cup that he was
yeah,
managing in, and there was a
basically.
a really poor.
And there's always sort of World Cup, like international tournament moves that happen, in it. Like I remember when we signed Karl Poborski
Yeah,
off the
based
back of the
on
Euros.
yes, and we really should have signed Pavel Nedved off the back of
Yeah, he
the.
should have. Yeah, that would have been the one. Yeah.
So going to be lots of upheaval at Old Trafford in
Yeah.
this window,
Yeah.
and when we haven't even got started yet. But
Oh, another player, Carl, that just come to mind that we've been linked with over the past week. Brian Mbuemo. Um, that's
yes,
an
so
interesting one.
he has scored 20 Premier League goals this season. Um, one of multiple Brentford players who have achieved that mark.
Yeah.
Now he would probably fit in as the right-sided number 10, or he could go up front. So
Hmm.
with United missing out on the lap, some of the journalists are saying that the focus will now move to Mbeumo, but he is not exactly an out-and-out number 9. Um,
No.
so if they get him, I'm start on with Kuna coming in as well. I'm starting to think that United might not necessarily play an out-and-out
Mm.
number 9. Uh, but what I would really like is if we got Kuna, Mbeumo, and Gyökeres, now we're talking.
Oh my days. Oh, that would be a disgusting front line. Wow.
But then again, we're not even factoring in Amad
Yeah.
Diallo here. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Well, in that fact, in that instance, I think Ahmad would be the right wing back. No.
I'm seeing a lot of fans doing their potential lineups for next season already,
Mhm.
and all of them seem to be putting Ahmad in his right wing back.
Yeah.
Yet there's no evidence to suggest that that's what Amorim's going to do with him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Personally, for me, I think he's better further forward, but it's one of those when needs must kind of things. In the long run, I think if he had it his way, we would just have out and out quality wing backs. But it
Yeah,
all is dependent on budget and the
yeah,
most urgent and that kind of thing. With the Brian Mbeumo one, it's a very interesting one. He's an interesting player. He's proven in the Premier League for over a couple of seasons now. Obviously, this season gone, spectacular numbers, 20 goals. Before that, I think the previous 2 seasons it was 9 goals each. But GA wise, with assists thrown in as well, he's managed to achieve it in double figures the last couple of seasons. I like his versatility, the fact that he can cover up top. He can play the right 10. He can play, if you go 4-3-3, he can play on the right wing. He can even cover at right wing back. So it's one of those. The versatility I like. He's at a good age. He definitely makes us better. But I know there's competition as well from Newcastle. And if they come calling, I can't lie, that is a better fit for me, for him at this moment in time.
and the Champions League football that they can offer.
Yeah, exactly. Champions League football. And you look at that front, well, that team is just a very settled team, right? You look at that front six. And Jacob Murphy's no scrub. He's good. But then, if you'd assume Mbuemo then goes into that and he goes into that right wing position. And then you've got now Jacob Murphy on the bench. So squad depth wise as well, they improve. And then you're probably only another centre half and a top goalkeeper away from being a real force if they can keep the rest of their players together.
Yeah, let's hope that we can get him rather than Newcastle. But
Yeah, he's only got a year left on his contract. I know the quotes are like 50 million or something. But
crazy.
yeah, 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 it's kind of insane, isn't it? But yeah, I do think it would be a good addition if we could pull it off. Yeah, it just depends really where our priorities lie, and I think a lot of it will do with sales. So things like this Bruno one would really determine which way the rest of the window goes in.
Yeah, if we sell Bruno and Garnacho in the next
Mm.
couple of weeks, then we're going to have plenty of money to throw around, I think.
Definitely,
In
definitely.
theory, in
But then
theory,
what we
anyway.
can't do as well is then fall into the trap of, when clubs know you've got money, so
Yeah,
then they
yeah,
suddenly mark up the price of their players. We can't fall into that either. So, unlike previous years, under the horrible, woeful Ed Woodward regime, what they have to do is they need to do their due diligence, they need to do their scouting. Make sure that you have a point at which you walk away. Make sure you have alternatives lined up as well, so you're not stuck on, putting all your eggs in one basket.
yeah. It's a hard one because if you do all your buying first, then
Yeah.
the clubs you're selling to know you need to sell. So
Yes. It's kind of a thing where you need to work on both at the same time and hope that you can keep things under wraps. So you need to try and put deals in place, but then not confirm it until you sell. And, there's a lot of shenanigans behind the scenes.
yeah, but I just want to emphasize the point that if we do sell Bruno Fernandes,
Mhm.
I want us to sign an Oshman or a Gyökeres. I know it's a
Oh,
different
most definitely. Most definitely. If Bruno goes, one of those have to come in.
because we said about the Europa League final. I hate to mention it, but if we had won that and got the Champions League prize
Mhm.
money, that would have given us the resources to sign a world class
Yeah.
striker. Now, if we sell Bruno Fernandes, same applies. That'll give us the resources to buy a world class
Mhm.
striker because we're already bringing in a 10. So I think what we need next is definitely a striker, and the Bruno seal will give us that money,
Yeah.
and on top of the
I'd
Garnacho seal.
probably go, yeah, I'd probably go striker, goalkeeper if we can help it. And then you deal with the rest.
We've been linked to the Royal Antwerp goalkeeper. He's a very, very young lad.
Very young. Is that
Yeah,
Lemons? Is it Lemons? I
yeah,
don't know how you say his
yeah,
name. Yeah. I don't know if he would be first choice though if he were to come in. Surely you'd think he would be more of a replacement for Bayern Deer.
yeah. I think Bayern will
Yeah.
go. Hopefully, Onana will get a move to the Saudi Pro League as well.
Yeah, that would be ideal because honestly, because there's a few goalkeepers on the market. Yeah, but it would all
We've
depend on if you can move Onana
we've
on.
also been linked with Milinkovic Savic, the Torino
Yeah.
goalkeeper.
I'll tell you, I'm not convinced by him, but he is stupidly tall though.
Yeah, you would like to think he could command his area, given
Yeah,
how
yeah, yeah.
big and physical
I'll
he
tell
is.
you what, Carl. One, it's I know it's unrealistic because of who it is, but we've talked about it before, and even this week I've seen Sky Sports linking him to moves in the Premier League. Kelleher apparently he's available just in excess of £20 million, and when I'm looking at the likes of the clubs that are interested in him, I'm like, what? Why
Brentford,
not put a cheeky bid in?
yeah, Brentford's one of them.
Yeah,
But yeah, you touched on it there. Liverpool are not going to sell
yeah. Well, you don't
Gallagher,
know unless you try, right? There's no harm in trying.
but there's it's one of those rare relationships where United and Liverpool do
Yeah.
not even communicate in summer transfer windows. There's
hmm
never
hmm
there's you know it's very, very rare for
Yeah, definitely. Like, as even if you go back in history, like even Owen, Paul Ince, nobody moved directly between the two.
and
So
it,
that listen, that might be a thing if Gallagher goes to Brentford for a year, hey, he might be on the table next year.
yeah, we basically would have to wait for him to go somewhere else
Yeah,
and then we can get him.
yeah, yeah,
It's just and it's very rare for a player to actually want to play for both clubs. Because
yeah. No, it's true, but
they
he can't
feel it
sit. He's definitely going to move though.
they,
He
they
can't sit around. He's too
they
good.
they feel a sense of loyalty
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
club that they've played for, and they don't want to upset the fans. Like obviously, Paul Ince and Michael Owen have been
Mhm.
exceptions to that. Gabriel Ainse wanted to sign for Liverpool, and that was totally
Oh God, he wanted
blocked
to buy
by
himself out of his contract to go over there. It was insane.
blocked by Fergie, and he ended up going
Yeah,
to Real Madrid. Yeah,
didn't work out
I
too
would
bad for him
say
in the end.
I would say it's very, very rare for United and
Mhm.
Liverpool to even lift the phone to each other during a transfer window. It just there's
I
never.
know it feels wrong, but
Yeah,
honestly, I think he's really good.
yeah, because obviously I follow the Irish national team, and
Yes, and the manager said as well, innit? Because he wants to see him play first team football. So there's that
and
added incentive as well, pressure. He needs to go.
he's been really good for Ireland
Yeah.
in qualifiers. So uh, yes, I do think he's a really good goalkeeper.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, because
he's
Sky reported it as they would want a fee in excess of 20 million. So that could be, I don't know, like 25, whatever it is, under 30 million. I think that's worth it for him.
just don't see
Again,
it.
he's got only just a year left on his contract as well.
I just don't see it happening because
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. But like, look at even Man City; they put in like anti-United clauses into players that they sell
Yeah, they did
elsewhere.
that when they sold Brahim Diaz. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. Uh, yeah. So another piece of good news is that Alvaro Fernandes is going to go to Real Madrid, which United could end up with a 15 million windfall from that, which is massive. And if Mason Greenwood is sold by Marseille, United would get 50% of the transfer fee.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's real.
that's a big one because he finished joint top goal scorer in Ligue 1. So surely we need PSG to
This is this is what I don't understand, by the way, in terms of Alvaro Fernandez.
mm,
He would be perfect for the left wing back role. Why didn't we sign him?
yeah, yeah.
And we could have got him on the
Especially when
cheap.
especially when you got a buyback clause in there as well.
Yeah,
So
we could sign him for 15 million pounds.
yeah, yeah.
Real Madrid,
Perhaps it's the player. Perhaps they didn't think the player would want to come as well. Because this is the other thing, isn't it? Just because you have a buyback clause doesn't mean the player has to agree. You still have to negotiate terms with them.
yeah, I suppose in January he probably didn't want to leave Benfica in the middle of a Champions
hmm
League campaign, and then now Real Madrid will come in for him. So yeah,
And now Madrid have come in,
yeah.
so who can turn down Madrid?
And United just didn't really give him a chance when when they had
Yeah.
the opportunity to do so.
hmm
But yeah, to me, he's a better player than Dorgu. So
Yeah.
I think United have missed a trick there. But
hmm
nevertheless, we are set to profit from this. Um, Now I just want to throw a name out there in terms of I think we need to. Casemiro is now going to be irrelevant because, as I said, he he's physically he's declined and doesn't do well against English opponents.
Yeah.
Uh, and he's going to be a year older next season. And I think if we can move him on, it's going to be a challenge given the wages and that he's settled and all the rest.
Yep.
But I think Ugarte doesn't convince me yet either. I think there's so many things missing from his game that I think we need to sign another player in that position too if we can. And a player that I really like is Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace. But then again, we'd probably be charged for 60, 70 million.
That's the problem with Adam Wharton. I think he's a good player as well, very tidy. Rio Ferdinand compared him to Michael Carrick, and that's quite high praise. But yeah, English tax as well. And yeah,
Mhm.
Palace would probably ask for about 70 million, I reckon, minimum. And I'm not sure if we can do that in this at this moment in time.
Mhm.
Um, there was one cheaper alternative I looked at, which was quite decent. This player called Stiller at Stuttgart. He's had a fine season, and I think he's got a release clause as well. So it'll probably cost about 30 to 35 million. Uh, but yeah, I thought this season for us in the summer, we probably needed somebody a bit more progressive though, than more so than DM. Uh, Ugarte's more of just a cleanup man, so you need legs around him.
He's very hit and miss, Ugarte.
Yeah,
Uh, he, he's had a quite a few
I
stinkers.
understand why PSG moved on from him because when I see that midfield this year, it's so fluid. Like they all
Yeah,
interchange. Like they don't just have out and out positions, the three in midfield, they all change. So, I
yeah,
saw an interview actually funny enough that Rio did with the PSG squad and he spoke to a few of the guys. He spoke to Kvaratskhelia, to Vitinha and young João Neves. Um, and yeah, Vitinha was talking about his experiences at Wolves and what's changed for him now. And yeah, the coaching and the fact that opposition don't know who to mark because of the way they play, because they're so fluid. And obviously they're a position based team as well in it, so they see a lot of the ball.
yeah. I wanted to bring something to your attention regarding Ugarte, and yes, I'm not surprised PSG
Yeah.
wanted to move him on. Um, Now people think that because Omri managed him at Sporting Lisbon, that they have a great relationship and he'll be delighted to work with him again.
Mm.
But bear this in mind. Bef Before Ugarte signed for Sporting Lisbon, they won the league on, under Amram. The season that he was there, they didn't win the league. When he left
And then
Sporting
they sold him
Lisbon,
and
when
he's
they
won
sold
again.
him, they won the league again.
Uh,
So Amram may be thinking, I don't win leagues with this guy. Uh,
yeah,
so so he was only there for a season, I believe, in
yeah.
Sporting Lisbon, and it wasn't a successful season for them,
Mhm.
and they won the league either side of him being there.
I'll tell you what,
So
one of the
the
yeah, sorry,
manager might
go ahead.
the manager might think
Yeah,
that actually he might not be as big a fan of the player as you think.
yeah, and might fancy a slightly different profile. I was just gonna say, no matter what happens, one of the things that surely they must tell him as well, like, whatever you do, Amarim, like Kobe surely has to play a key part in the way we build going forward.
Yeah, he needs to find a role for him, and he's not making
Yeah,
it into his starting 11. And
no, and he's too good of a talent to waste. So it's one of those. Do you just shoe him in for the sake of it, or do you actually genuinely take the time to build around him? Because that's what I'd be looking to do. Because Kobe is the future, really. So if I was to fit him in, then I'd have to look around at who best suits his game, who complements him well.
yeah, I don't see Manu and Ugarte being
Yeah, no, I don't like it. I didn't like it when I saw it this season. Like currently, if things go as they are, the only way I see Kobe fitting into what Amram's doing is if we move him further forward. So you'd have to be one of the tens.
a lot of competition for that area.
Yeah.
Even if Bruno goes, still gonna be a lot of
Hmm.
competition for those spots.
Yeah.
Mm.
And now obviously Ericsson's gone as well, so he can take up those numbers as well, I guess, in terms of game time.
Yeah, it would be horrific as United fans if Manu went somewhere else and starred. We would
Yeah,
be,
yeah. And then Collier as well needs
but
to see a bit more action.
yeah, I really like him.
Yeah.
He's really impressed me anytime I've seen him.
Hmm.
Uh, I, you know, he could play. as a number six for United in time. You know,
Hmm.
I think he was stunted last season by picking up a couple of injuries and didn't play as many games as he perhaps would have done. But yeah, anytime I've seen him, I've been impressed. And you know, he could maybe save us the money of buying a number six in this window.
Hmm.
I want to see him play a lot more minutes than he did this season. I like to see a big increase in that. And you know, let's say if he gets an opportunity in August, Collier, and he takes it, he can end up being first choice. You know,
Mm.
I think he would complement Manu quite well. You know, because he's got he's quick, he's dynamic, he's mobile, and I think that would be a better complement to Manu. Whereas Ugarte and Manu is a very slow midfield,
Hmm.
and they don't quite have the mobility that you want in the Premier League. But I think
No,
Collier would complement Manu better. So that's something to think about.
definitely, definitely. And the other thing with Ugarte as well, you need a proper progressor next to him for that to make sense. You know, you need like a top class one as well. You need like a Barella or a Frankie De Jong, which is the stuff of dreams, pipe dreams.
Frankie De Jong, now you're
He's only got a year left.
imagine it happened whenever Ten Hag left. No, I just don't see it.
No,
Again,
I don't see it either. I don't see it.
he was not interested in coming to
No,
Manchester,
no. And
and
yeah, I don't even blame him. I wouldn't left all that money on the
his
table.
wife even less so. You know,
Yeah,
if they just moved from Amsterdam to Barcelona and
yeah.
settled, they're not
And
going to.
also, that's a component that we don't give enough credit to, and we need to start paying attention to. You know, when the players' wives say no, it never
It's a
works out
no.
well. Yeah, it's a
It's a
no. It
no.
never works out
And
well. When you
and
force the issue, you end up in a Di Maria situation.
it's a no unless the player is Roy Keane,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he's the
He,
one man you can guarantee wears the trousers in his marriage.
yeah, yeah. He'd rather get divorced than, stop. Whereas, yeah, with Di Maria, he never settled, did he? And yeah, his missus didn't want to leave, and everything came to a head. I think when his house got robbed.
Quite a culture shock for
Yeah,
Latin Americans to
definitely.
move from Madrid to Manchester.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Um, so after an it was a horrific night in Bilbao, which we never speak of again after today.
Mhm.
But after beating Aston Villa and then winning this friendly against Hong Kong, with Cheetah Obi got off the mark and scoring a brace, starting to feel a wee bit better now, and Kuna's coming in. Um, we're gonna we're gonna have a major rebuild this summer. We're being linked to some exciting names, so I'm starting to come away from the depression of Bilbao. How are you feeling?
Yeah, yeah. I felt kind of numb. It's never nice losing a final, and then the manner in which we lost as well is what irks me. Just yeah. But yeah, like like it's said now, said and done now. So there's no point dwelling on it, right? We can only look ahead. Have to be positive and yeah, see what the window brings. And even with the window, I know there's a lot of people out there who've already lost their minds at what we're not doing. But we do have to keep in mind the window's not even officially open yet, and we've already got one signing done pretty much. So yeah, it's decent. Just need to not compare ourselves to what others are doing. I think that's where some of the disappointment comes in because I know
Hmm.
certain people it is hard sometimes. I do this myself. Sometimes like looking over at Liverpool and seeing
I
what they're
know you
doing and
do.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of annoying that. So yeah, I need to take my own advice sometimes and stay off of that. But yeah, early on, positive signs, but it's too early to say, isn't it? Really, we just have to wait and see what happens. I'm just more so interested in getting all these sales done. That would give me a lot of relief. If
Yeah,
we can
because
move on a lot of these players that we need moved on.
us United fans were so unused to selling players properly that when
Yeah,
when it happens, it's like it's massive. It's like, wow, that was amazing.
yeah. Listen, we still wax lyrical about making a profit on Dan James,
Yeah,
and Daily Blind, who was probably one of my most favorite post Fergie signings. He was one of the very few as well we made a profit on.
Well, it looks like we're going to make a profit on Bruno if he leaves. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. And then some.
Yeah.
And it
Um.
would actually be the right move at the right time. Like if we were to get a ridiculous fee for him, like on paper, it would all just make sense. Uh,
Yeah. As long as he is replaced adequately.
yeah, yeah, that's the key thing. And then the thing is, I don't think he would mind himself either, because I was reading some of his comments on what could potentially happen if a big money offer was on the table, and he basically kind of said, like, listen, if it helps the club, you know.
Yeah, like a self-sacrifice. If you
Yeah, yeah.
if
Well,
you
it's
if
some.
you
Well,
call it
it
that.
just. Well, if you could call it that, because it just means that it's yeah, his bloodline never has to work again.
Yeah,
Like generational wealth doesn't begin to
yeah.
describe
His
the
his
riches on offer over there.
his grandchildren will never have to work if he
Yeah,
does
never,
decide to.
never, never. So yeah, it's one of those. So I won't begrudge him that. Like, yeah, go earn your money, man. Like that's the other thing we have to keep in mind. Obviously these people get paid ludicrous wages, but one injury is all it takes.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a short career, very short career.
Very much so. Very much so.
And just a bit of trivia here. That's exactly why Sean Connery decided to become an actor rather than a footballer, because football career is too short, and he was told that
Mm.
an acting career could be a job for life. And boy, did he make the right
Wow.
choice.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, and he was acting all the way throughout, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, still acting
Yeah,
in his 80s, I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm pretty sure he probably made what, a couple of 100 million over the course of his career.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So one final point on the wingback situation, which you
Mm,
talked about. The difference that I want to see next season, and even if we don't sign specialists in these areas, I don't want to see two fullbacks playing wing back. I want to
yeah.
see at least one winger playing in that position.
Mm,
Now, what I can stomach is Ahmad on the right and Dorgu on the left, or Amos on the left, whatever. I can take that. What I don't want is Mazrahi on the left and Dallo on the right. I just
mm,
can't have that at all because, as you said, wing in this system, wing backs are so important, and you need them to provide an attacking outlet. You need them to
outlet. Yeah,
service the front
definitely,
man. They have to service the front
definitely.
man. And if they are two fullbacks, they're not going to do that.
Yeah. Personally, for me, I don't think any of the options that we have are good enough for that. I just think
Mhm.
they're all rotational options who can do a job. I would like to have. I would have liked them to make inquiries about Out Nuri whilst we were doing the deal for Cunha. I think he's a player that excites me. He's only got a year left on his contract as
I
well.
heard a Man City are interested in him.
Jesus.
Romano said that, yeah.
Okay. All right. Mm.
Yeah, we would need Harry Ammas to just to suddenly develop overnight and become
Or the new kid Leon that's going to
yeah,
turn up.
well, physically he's got the attributes anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're
But
gonna, need him to really turn up. But
but
yeah,
it's you have to give him a
tall
bit of
order.
time coming from the Paraguayan
Oh yeah,
league.
absolutely. Like even with Dorgu, like he's quite frustrating, isn't he? But yeah, you got to keep in mind that he's 20 years old and he's
But
playing in a position he's not really played in. Like he's been moved around a lot, and he was, at a relegation threatened team. So the way they set up is different. Well, I
but
say that whilst we languish in 15.
yeah, but yeah, Ahmad at right wing back would certainly service the attack very well. Could you
Hmm.
imagine a scenario where you've got Mbeumo on that side and Ahmad on that side at the same
Yeah.
time? That transforms your attack. Albeit, it's going to put the right side of the defense under pressure. I know Ahmad will
Hmm.
track back, but he's not particularly good at defending.
No.
Which isn't a criticism, by the way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Because even from there, he makes things happen going forward.
yeah, he does. Yeah, in the few games they did play in that position, he did very
Yeah.
well. Against Ipswich was definitely one of them.
Mm.
I think he created an assist for Rashford against Ipswich at Portman Road from the right wing
Yeah.
back position. That was Amram's first game, actually. Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, so ideally, you want specialist. Ideally, you want
Yeah.
Frimpong and Kirkes. but
Well, yeah, that would have been fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, but well, that's not going to happen.
But that's not
But
going to happen. But I'll settle for just one wing back
so
who's actually a
yeah,
wing back who can come in and do a job, And then also, I know we talked about we've got enough at the back, but with both Lindelof and Evans leaving, I would like to see one, ideally like a left-sided centre back, just because I don't trust the fitness of Martinez nor Shaw.
he
So,
Yarrow and Heaven can play in that position as
but
well, though.
Euro can play there, and Euro, I think he said he prefers to play there as well on the left-hand side, so that's
Yeah,
totally fine. Mazraoui's all right at right centre back.
but
That's good backup option.
yeah, if we have to play Ahmad at wing back, then so be it.
Hmm.
Anything to avoid two fullbacks playing as wing back. Oh
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
nothing stunts your attacks more than that. Just
Hmm.
completely blunts every single attack when they have to. Because
Definitely.
whenever most of the time when Dallo or Mazrahi are faced up by a fullback or they're double marked, they'll just they'll turn and pass it back, and you're like, oh,
Hmm.
this is not only does that make it difficult to create chances, it's boring to watch as well.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Hmm.
we need to have. I would be okay with a man on one side and a fullback on the other side. I can cope with that. But two
Yeah,
fullbacks, absolutely not.
yeah. No,
Uh,
definitely.
so let's see how the window turns out. So I'm feeling more optimistic than I was a week ago. Given that United have got a couple of wins in against Villa and Hong Kong,
I'll
and
be totally honest, Carl. I've taken a break since Aston Villa.
yeah,
Like I've just completely written off this week and what they're doing over there. I just think this is a nonsense.
well,
Uh,
I wasn't that keen on it myself, but given that Obi
yeah,
scored and Heaven scored, that kind of
yeah, yeah. It's
makes it
good,
better.
good. It's good that the youngsters are doing their thing. But yeah, I just miss me with all of the on-field action until preseason. That's
Yeah.
when I want to see them, see what
So
kind of condition they're in, get their fitness up.
yeah, we shall wrap it up there. Please, everybody, like the video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast if you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Spotify or Apple, and get the word out there to as many United fans as possible. And thanks, as always, to all the listeners and
No
the watchers.
worries. Absolute pleasure. I'll catch you next time, mate.
All right, I'll see you later.